My parents promised to help with my down payment and then gave the money to my failing brother instead. What they asked for next left me stunned. I, 32F, have always been the responsible one in my family. Straight A student, worked through college, landed a good job right after graduation, and have been diligently saving for a house for the past 5 years. Despite doing everything right, housing prices in my city have skyrocketed beyond what I could reasonably afford on my own. About a year ago, during a family dinner, my parents proudly announced they wanted to help me with the down payment on my first home. They said they'd been saving for years to help their children, and felt I deserved it since I was finally ready to put down roots. I was moved to tears. With their help, they mentioned a sum of $50,000. I could finally afford something decent in a safe neighborhood. I started house hunting the very next day. For 6 months, I spent every weekend at open houses, met with mortgage brokers, and meticulously calculated what I could afford. I finally found the perfect place. A modest 2-bedroom condo close to work with a small yard for the dog I've always wanted. The sellers accepted my offer, contingent on financing, which I was confident about securing with my parents' promised help. 3 days before I needed to provide proof of funds, I called my parents to arrange the transfer. My mom sounded hesitant and asked if she and Dad could come over. When they arrived, I could tell something was wrong. "Honey," my mother started, not quite meeting my eyes. "Something's come up with your brother." My brother, 29M, has always been what you might call a free spirit. Dropped out of college twice, bounced between jobs, and has a habit of getting into financial trouble. He's charming, and my parents have always had a soft spot for him, constantly bailing him out of whatever mess he's created. Apparently, he had come to them with an amazing business opportunity that he couldn't pass up. He needed capital right away or he'd miss out on millions. The same story I'd heard countless times before. My father cleared his throat. "We've decided to invest in your brother's business venture instead. We believe in him, and this could really turn his life around." I sat there stunned, unable to process what I was hearing. The money that had been promised to me, that I had built plans around, that I had signed contracts based on, was gone. Given to my brother for yet another of his schemes. What about my house? I finally managed to ask, my voice barely above a whisper. "You're doing so well," my father said with forced enthusiasm. "You can keep saving for another year or 2. You're always so good with money." I felt sick. Being good with money was now my punishment. My brother's irresponsibility was once again being rewarded, while my careful planning meant nothing. "I signed a contract," I said, my voice breaking. "I'll lose my earnest money. I'll look unreliable to lenders." My parents exchanged uncomfortable glances. "Maybe you can get a loan from somewhere else?" my mother suggested weakly. I asked them to leave. I needed space to figure out what to do. They reluctantly departed, both promising to make it up to me somehow. I spent that night alternating between crying and frantically calling friends to see if anyone could help. No one had that kind of money to lend. The next morning, I called the sellers and explained the situation, hoping for an extension. They were sympathetic, but unwilling to take the property off the market for longer without guarantee of funds. I lost my dream home and my $5,000 earnest money deposit. I was devastated but tried to move on. I threw myself into work, picked up extra projects, and tried not to think about how my own parents had betrayed me. I limited contact with them, responding to texts with brief messages and making excuses to skip Sunday dinners. 3 months later, my brother's business venture predictably failed. I heard through my cousin that he had barely launched before running through all the money. No surprise there. What did surprise me was the text I received from my father last week. "Family dinner this Sunday. Important news to share. Please come." Against my better judgment, I went. As I pulled into my parents' driveway, I noticed a brand new SUV I didn't recognize. Inside, my brother was lounging on the couch, playing with the latest iPhone. My parents were beaming. After an awkward dinner, where everyone avoided talking about the elephant in the room, my father clinked his glass for attention. "We have some exciting news," he announced. "Your mother and I are retiring early. We've decided to sell the house and buy an RV to travel the country." I nodded politely, wondering why this required my presence. Then came the bombshell. "Since we'll be on the road, we need someone responsible to manage our affairs," my mother continued. "Bills, taxes, any issues with our rental properties. We thought of you immediately." I stared at them in disbelief. After destroying my chance at homeownership, they wanted me to work as their unpaid property manager? "And," my father added, "we'll need somewhere to stay when we come back to visit. We were thinking we could list you as co-owner on a small condo we'd buy in the city. You could live there and take care of it for us." For a moment, I felt a flicker of hope. Co-ownership of a condo? Was this their way of making things right? "Of course," my mother quickly clarified. "It would be mostly in our names for tax purposes. And we'd need the master bedroom when we visit. But you could stay in the second bedroom during those times." The audacity left me speechless. They weren't offering me a home. They were looking for a caretaker for a property they would control. What about me? My brother chimed in. Where am I supposed to stay when you're gone? With your sister in the condo, of course, my father replied cheerfully. There's a pull-out couch. That was it. I stood up, grabbed my purse, and walked toward the door. Where are you going? My mother called after me. We haven't discussed the details. I turned back one last time. I'm going home to my apartment. The one I pay for myself. The one where I make all the decisions. I'm not managing your properties, I'm not becoming your part-time tenant, and I'm certainly not housing my brother. My father's face darkened. After everything we've done for you, this is how you repay us? Family helps family. I laughed bitterly. Yes, they do. Or at least they're supposed to. Let me know when you want to start. I walked out and drove home, ignoring the barrage of texts from my mother telling me I was being selfish and ungrateful. The next day, I called a real estate agent in a different city where housing is more affordable. I've been offered a position in my company's branch office there, with a slight raise to account for the relocation. It's not ideal. I'll be leaving my friends and starting over, but it's a place where I can afford a small house on my own. I've also started seeing a therapist to work through my feelings about my family. She's helping me understand that it's okay to set boundaries and that I don't have to set myself on fire to keep others warm. My parents still don't understand why I'm moving or why I declined their generous offer. My brother thinks I'm being dramatic. Maybe I am, but for the first time in my life, I'm putting myself first. As for that dream condo I lost, the one with the small yard for a dog, I drove by it yesterday. The new owners have planted flowers and hung a swing on the porch. They have a golden retriever that barked happily as I passed. It hurt to see what could have been mine, but I'm trying to focus on what will be mine someday, something I'll build without false promises or conditions. I don't know if I'll ever fully repair my relationship with my parents. Right now, I'm focused on building my own foundation, one that can't be pulled out from under me on someone else's whim. And maybe, just maybe, that's the most valuable lesson they've taught me after all.